All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and I will be hanging out for the next hour for APUSH, and this is going to last for an hour. Now, this is going to be the first hangout. This is going to be a public hangout, questions via Twitter, all of that kind of stuff. Then I'm going to be doing a premium hangout from 8:30 to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and that premium hangout is going to, I'm going to post something. I've already got something in the description where you can get some information on that, or if you're on tomrichey.net/hangouts, then you can get some information. You can see a link for information about the premium hangout. Why you got to charge for this, bro? All right, the premium hangout, charging for the premium hangout because it's going to be a smaller group of people. That really what you're paying for is more personal attention from me, less like self-promotion, app promotion, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to get down to business because you're going to see once Twitter starts getting lit and all of that kind of stuff, it's going to be difficult for me to answer every question. People are going to want shout outs, all of that stuff. So really the premium hangout is going to be more of a work session with me and a smaller group of people who really want to get down to business. But for the next hour, I will be broadcasting live. I've got my tea. Shout out to Stagg High School. If anybody's here, I believe those are Miss Banowitz's students. So if anybody's here, shout out to y'all. Thanks so much for the mug. When people send me mugs, they are the most awesome people are the ones that send me mugs. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to go to Twitter. Now, one other thing in the public hangouts, I don't enable the chat because people are just going to say a bunch of stuff that's racist and inappropriate. And I'm not about that. And so if you have questions, go ahead and ask me on Twitter at Tom Richey. Of course, then there are those people that like, I've never heard of them before in my life. And all of a sudden they're like, ooh, look me, I want to answer a question, you know, whatever. So people I recognize, you know, you'll probably get priority. Followers, of course, get priority. But we've got here, Colin Briggs says it's lit. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So we are live. Let me know. Let me let Twitter know that we are live. Okay. So we are live. Okay. So APUSH is happening. All right. So tomrichey.net/hangouts. All right. So tomrichey.net/hangouts. All right. tomrichey.net/hangouts. All right. Just put a couple emojis on there and we are ready to go. All right. And of course, a little picture there. All right. So we are live. So we want to make sure that's there. Got 119 people here. That's pretty good. So I'm going to start taking some questions. Alex, my newest follower. Okay. Alex, my newest follower from Boston, Massachusetts, into ice skating and all of that kind of stuff. Shout out, turn up, or whatever y'all say these days. Now, let me tell you something. First of all, there are a lot of people who don't know that I have an app. If you've got an iPhone, I've got a review app, basically like an APUSH trivia app with over 800 questions. And I just want you to see that very, very quickly. Okay. Romulus APUSH Review is what this app is called. It's available at the App Store. And it is available for $4.99 for 800 questions. Are these stimulus-based questions? No. The point of this app is to help you to prepare with the content, because if you've done a DBQ or an LEQ or an SAQ before, one of the biggest things is forgetting about the content, you know, not remembering what's there. This app will help you remember. Okay, this app will help you remember. It's got all kinds of questions. It's got links when you get something wrong and all of that kind of stuff. So Romulus APUSH Review, I will be your best friend. If you buy this, you tweet me a screenshot of it on your phone or whatever, I'll retweet it. Okay, so Romulus APUSH Review. This is the most awesome thing you can do. Also, remember the premium hangout is happening later. So let's go ahead and get down to business. Okay, yes, I just mentioned you, Alex. She's so shook. Mr. Curry is, well, the best APUSH teacher. Gosh, that is Christos. That is a little bit offensive, but you know what? Why not? Mr. Curry is the best APUSH teacher. What are we going to cover during the hangout? I'm watching it right now. BTW, Alex, we're going to cover whatever y'all want to cover. I'm going to start taking questions. All right, and we've got Brady, a funny guy from Arizona. Looks like Brady wants to build a wall over there. So Anyway, we got that going on. Boundary dispute in Maine. You talking about now? All right. Okay, I'm back. It looks like we went out for just a second. Okay, I should be back. Somebody on Twitter confirm that I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. For some reason, the internet just went off very briefly. Okay, now Jacksonian democracy. What's important to note here is that the United States, and Richard Hofstadter's American Political Tradition is one of my favorite books for APUSH, and he writes about in the first chapter how the founding fathers really did not intend to put together a democracy per se. All right. They did not want to put together a democracy. They put together an aristocratic republic with some democratic elements. Okay. So when we think about like the impact of Jacksonian democracy and this period as a turning point, as far as that goes, let's see, you're welcome, Fadon. And hopefully I said that right. But Jacksonian democracy, it's really kind of changing the United States from an aristocratic republic to a democratic republic. So let me just kind of show you a bit about what I'm talking about. All right. So when we think about an aristocratic republic, what we're seeing between 1789 and 1828, what we're seeing is that an elite visibly governs, okay, which of course in this election we just had an anti-elite uprising, but an elite visibly governs. No one really has a problem with it. Property ownership is typically required to vote. That voters have an indirect involvement in the political process, especially when it comes to presidential electors, that it was indirect, meaning that you have the basically the people, that is the property owners, they vote for the state legislators who then in turn appoint the presidential electors who will vote for the president. So you have several layers between the people and the presidency, which the framers were trying to stop, exactly what was, what we've seen in this last election with all of the popular campaigning and all of it goes along with it. They didn't want the president to be a popular political figure. And so what you had as far as governing, you've governed through consensus and deal making between elites. Now, you see that a little bit in the antebellum period because Henry Clay is very much into this old deal making mentality. Henry Clay made deals. He was the great compromiser. And so as far as that goes, Clay is kind of, a throwback in some ways to that old kind of aristocratic republic. Now, the thing is that, after Clay's death in 1850, you start to see people aren't really so keen on compromising anymore. But Clay, really as a young man was part of this aristocratic republic. Now, you might remember the corrupt bargain of 1824, where Clay threw his support behind John Quincy Adams, and then John Quincy Adams made him Secretary of State. Well, there was nothing really wrong with that in the aristocratic republic, deal making between elites. But that is not something that you're going to see in a democratic republic, at least not visibly, because when the people participate directly, they don't want to see this kind of stuff going on. So what you see there, you go from, popular campaigning. Okay, so popular campaigning where you have pandering, demagogues. Now, I tell my students, if you want to get rid of demagoguery, get rid of democracy. Anytime that candidates have to reach a large audience, the people at large, they're going to be demagogues. So when we think about a democratic republic, and what we think of as Jacksonian democracy is that all citizens participate in theory. Like basically any white male could vote as long as they now before that you had to own property, but here any white male is able to vote regardless of property ownership. So what you see there is, really this is what's making things democratic, is that everybody is going to be able to vote rather than, just the elite, just the property owners or something like that. All right. So that's what you're looking at as far as that goes. Then direct involvement in the political process. And I think this is really the biggest change that, now voters, and not just the property owners, but all voters are going to vote directly for the president, or for the electors who elect the president, which the Electoral College, by the way, meets on Monday. I'm sure there's not going to be any incident there, but who knows? And then majority rule. Now, that's another thing about democracy. Democracy is a very, it's focused on majority rule, winner take all. Remember Jackson's spoil system, that when Jackson came in, now when Jefferson took over the government in 1800, Jefferson didn't fire everybody. But when Jackson took over, Jackson fired everybody. He put his own people in there. So, this was very blatantly partisan. And then there is popular campaigning, that Jackson was really the first, really, truly popularly elected president who campaigned as a man of the people. And so that's what you're looking at with, Jacksonian democracy, is really this transition from from an aristocratic republic to a democratic republic. Remember, Romulus APUSH review is available at the App Store. Make sure y'all get a hold of it. All right, so let's go ahead and see what else we've got as far as questions and all of that kind of stuff. All right, so as far as that is concerned, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember that the premium hangout's going to be happening later. Yes, Colin, I mentioned you. It's so lit. Okay, so I brought yes. So that's the thing. Murray is saying Romulus is awesome. Mrs. Owens, how many times can you count how many times my sister Mackenzie can say it's lit? Thanks. Hopefully the more, the better. All right. Yes, I am back. All right. So Brophy College Prep, repping well. Excellent. Oh, my Lord. Somebody's got a picture of me as their Twitter icon. Yes, I am back, Abby. Thank you for noticing. All right. So I'm a little bit behind. And as you can see in these public hangouts, it's just there's a lot of activity on Twitter. It takes me a little while to get to things. Okay. You could compare radical Reconstruction to the Reign of Terror in France. I think that is, because you think about the Reign of Terror being the more, the more radical, of the movements and all of that kind of stuff. So the Reign of Terror, and it doesn't last forever. Okay, so let's see, go to my YouTube channel just real quick. All right. Okay, so we got that. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, as far as that goes, just had to tell somebody, let's see. So really, I think that if you do it right, it could be appropriate synthesis, because the radical Republicans had their program, and that program ended up failing. Basically it reverted back to a more conservative order that was different than the old regime. Of course, there was no slavery, but it was, replaced by the system of Jim Crow. So, you could compare that kind of almost like the Napoleonic period or something like that. So that would be a pretty impressive comparison or synthesis or something like that. You back, boy. That's right, Roger. I tell you what, I like this guy already. You know what? I think I'm going to give Roger a follow. Knoxville, Tennessee. Not bad. All right. Mrs. Rodriguez. Very good. Okay. Not everyone got it though. Okay. Yeah, that's true. what was the effect of the Jeffersonian democracy? Now, remember, Jeffersonian democracy is not really democracy the same way as, the same way as other, as other stuff. All right. So when it comes down to it, Jefferson is a man of the people, but not in the same way that Jackson was. In fact, now this is another one that, from Richard Hofstadter's The American Political Tradition, that Richard Hofstadter's The American Political Tradition, he's noting how, Jefferson, actually believed, like, when Virginia had a constitution, he was like, well, maybe there's too much direct popular involvement. So Jefferson was like almost like more of a man for the people, not necessarily a man of the people, whereas Jackson, here is a man of the people. Vinberg, all right, there we go there. All right, thank you, Ryan. Could I compare the first and second Great Awakening? Rohan, if you'll look at my video on the Second Great Awakening, okay, the Second Great Awakening, I've got a little chart there. Now, it's an old video. I'm going to warn you, it's a little bit old, but it still will do the trick, and I've got a comparison of the First and Second Great Awakening. Some of those old videos, one of these days, I want to update. I want to update those and kind of see where it goes. But, I can only do one thing at a time. So as far as that goes, I'll have to get there when I get there. But basically, and gosh, this is an old slide. I need to make that a lot better. I need to update it. But I'll tell you basically what I'm doing in that video. Is part of that video, I am comparing the First and Second Great Awakening. And remember that when we compare for APUSH, we need to make sure that we are comparing and contrasting, that we're going into similarities and differences. So what I've done here is I've got things here, where they're both religious revivals, both emotional. You've got Calvinism versus Arminianism, which I explain a little more there. They're both focused on a conversion experience, the spread of non-traditional denominations such as Baptist and Methodist. They both in some ways are promoting more democratic ideals. The First Great Awakening is in some ways seen as one of the many causal factors of the American Revolution, whereas the Second Great Awakening is seen as a causal factor in the antebellum reform movements and all of that kind of stuff. So as far as that goes, that's something that you want to note, but especially the number of Baptist Methodists. If you've got friends who might want to join us, be sure to let them know. I'm going to be here for about the next 40 minutes answering questions. So be sure your friends are here. All right. Reconstruction after the Civil War. Now I'm going to, as far as that goes, Reconstruction, there is a video by Hip Hughes that I really like. Okay, if you're not subscribed to my friend Hip Hughes History, make sure to subscribe to him. He's awesome. And, Hip Hughes has a video. It's called Hugs and Slugs. All right. So what he does is he compares presidential Reconstruction, which Lincoln, I call this kind of like, Kurt Cobain, like Come As You Are Reconstruction. I swear it. I don't have a gun. No, I don't have a gun. Some of y'all know the song, right? So as far as that goes, let's see. I've got my guitar here. I got to tune it. But anyway. Okay, so I'll work on that anyway. I will work harder. I'll make sure I have my guitar tuned next time. But, come as you are. That the South, Lincoln had his 10% plan, which I call discount Reconstruction. It's like Kia of Greer. Like they've got these, like this place that sells cars, it's just like Kia of Greer. If you live in upstate South Carolina, you probably heard this. If not, maybe you've heard other obnoxious car commercials. But when Lincoln's like got the 10% plan here, that 10% of the people who voted in the election have to swear an oath of allegiance to the United States. The other 90%, whatever. And Lincoln said, I want you to emancipate. 13th Amendment. Okay. Lincoln was a supporter of the 13th Amendment. That's presidential Reconstruction. Get rid of slavery. I don't care what else you do. Okay. Now keep in mind that Dred Scott said that slaves and people of African descent weren't citizens. And so when it comes down to it, Lincoln said, look, all I care is that you abolish slavery. Lincoln knew full well that Dred Scott, said that people of African descent couldn't be citizens. And so Lincoln was really, remember, Lincoln's goal in the Civil War, preserve the Union. All right. That's what Lincoln wanted to do. That was all Lincoln was concerned about, was preserving the Union. And so when Lincoln is in charge of Reconstruction, presidential Reconstruction is lenient, that we just want to put together the Union. Remember, Lincoln said in his second inaugural address, he was going to bind up the nation's wounds. And that was what he was focused on. Now, the radical Republicans, they wanted a more, well, radical plan. They wanted to make sure that there was political equality for African Americans, that, you know, they'd get to vote, that, you know, hopefully they'd get land, 40 acres and a mule. Never happened that way, but that's what they wanted. And so, you know, you see with radical Reconstruction, you know, you had a military occupation of the South. The 14th Amendment, you know, made former Confederate leaders eligible for being disenfranchised, not being able to vote. It canceled all of the Confederate war debt. They treated, you know, the radical Republicans, you know, Thaddeus Stevens, Charles Sumner, same guy got beat the mess out of by Preston Brooks. You know, these guys, they believed the South had been conquered. You know, Lincoln was like, well, technically they never really seceded because they can't. And these guys, you know, they're like, look, the South, they should be treated like conquered provinces. And so the Compromise of 1877, where Rutherford B. Hayes was elected in a disputed election, this represents, you know, really kind of this, you know, compromise sort of period, almost a Thermidorian reaction to the person who was talking about the French Revolution, that this is something that, you know, what they say is like, okay, Rutherford B. Hayes gets to be president, and in return, the three states, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Florida, the three states that were still occupied by federal troops and under a Reconstruction government, that the United States government was no longer, they were going to pull the troops out. They're not going to be implementing Reconstruction, and basically, you know, white Democrats can take back over the state government apparatus in those states. And so that is the end of Reconstruction, where you see, you know, basically the 15th Amendment's been passed, which says that you can't tell somebody that they can't vote because of their race, color, or previous condition of servitude. But it doesn't say you can't tell them they can't vote because their grandfather couldn't vote. It doesn't say you can't tell them they can't vote because they can't read or something like that. So there are all kinds of ways of getting around the law. All right. Mrs. Rodriguez, first year of teaching, getting married in 5 days. Okay, Abby, great. I'm so happy for Mrs. Rodriguez. And Fadon, I think I already just kind of anticipated. What should you know about, oh my goodness, Shavam is not following and asking questions. What in the world? Whoa, wow, we got a whole bunch of people. Do I know these people? Colin, I tell you what, I know this guy. All right, Colin. Why am I not following you, Colin? Why do you run, Colin? All right, so as far as that is concerned, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Now, that is with a G, not a Q, so make sure you get that. But Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, that is the treaty that ended the Mexican War. All right. So what happens with this treaty is the Mexican cession, that essentially Mexico cedes the land that is today, you know, California, Arizona, New Mexico, most of New Mexico, Colorado, all of that area. Okay. So Mexico cedes that land to the United States, and the United States basically completes what is essentially its conquest of Mexico. So as far as that kind of stuff. All right, Murray, great to hear from you. Let's see. So Murray, and wow, that is quite the dance costume there. Okay, so Murray, women's rights from the 1830s to 1877. All right, so as far as that is concerned, Murray, the biggest thing you want to know is that the women's rights movement during the antebellum period, Elizabeth Cady Stanton is somebody that's very important. I've also heard, you know, Lucretia Mott, Susan B. Anthony comes around to join that later on, but not quite at first. I think she's a little younger. She was still around, I believe, later on. So Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, but I think, you know, Stanton would be the most important because she was the principal author of the Seneca Falls Declaration of Sentiments. So Elizabeth Cady Stanton and her friends, they had been active in the temperance movement and the abolitionist movement. So they'd been active in these things, and they realized by being active politically, they realized how little they mattered and their voices mattered. Like, for example, there was a conference. There was a conference in the UK where they went to, you know, this abolitionist conference, and the women were told that they had to sit behind a screen, that they couldn't talk. So it wasn't just a matter of they couldn't vote, that they basically had no ability to speak in public. And so, you know, they realized that they've been helping out with the abolitionist movement, the temperance movement, and they realized, you know, nobody's advocating for us. And so the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, there's a little song called Seneca Falls that I found on the internet one time, and it was like the year was 1848, New York State. And remember 1848, that is the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, of course, on the Manifest Destiny side, and also that is the Seneca Falls Convention. So, you know, it's kind of the end of an era of, you know, when you're going from, you know, period 4, period 5, whatever. I don't like numbered periods, but, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, basically the Seneca Falls Convention releases their Declaration of Sentiments that all, you know, modeled after the Declaration of Independence, that all men and women are created equal. And Frederick Douglass was actually at the Seneca Falls Convention. Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist. Now, Frederick Douglass would later have a run-in with these suffragettes, the women's rights people, because after the Civil War, you know, during Reconstruction, Frederick Douglass advocated for the 15th Amendment, which said that you couldn't be told that you can't vote because of your race, color, previous condition of servitude. Note that they're not told that they can't be told they can't vote on account of sex. And so a lot of these women, they were offended, of course, you know, they were also being people at the time, you know, also racist and very indignant that black men were able to vote before they were. These are middle class, you know, housewives mostly that were doing this. So I would say that that is your most important thing. And of course, the 19th Amendment wasn't ratified until after World War I. All right. So Jack in Arizona, the Non-Intercourse Act is basically the successor to the, is the successor to the Embargo Act. Okay. So the Embargo Act essentially, Jack, cut out all foreign trade. All right. Cut out all foreign trade. And, you know, so in doing that, that, of course, New England, they were smuggling. The British weren't as hurt by it as we anticipated. They found new markets. And so what Jefferson did, you know, in the last year of his administration, he signed the Non-Intercourse Act, which was almost like embargo light, L-I-T-E. This is really just kind of, you know, toning it down a bit from what the embargo was, and really kind of the first phase of sort of phasing out the embargo. All right. Archive this hangout. Yes, this will be archived, Christos, and show it to Mr. Curry tomorrow. Awesome. Awesome. Looking forward to that. Can you please make a yes? That is going to be tomorrow. Somebody's asking me for an AP Euro live stream. That is going to be tomorrow evening. So spread the word if you've got friends in AP Euro. All right. I tell you, Miss Rodriguez. All right. And Taryn, that's your teacher. I'm so glad for her. So glad for her. All right. To what extent was the breakup of the Union in 1861 a conflict over slavery? All right. Abby, no one ever makes a joke about the Gadsden Purchase, do they? No one ever makes a joke about the Gadsden Purchase. If you don't get that joke, look up Gadsden Purchase on YouTube. You'll see that Jimmy Fallon thing. Fadon, as far as this goes, this is like, of course, the slavery thing. You know, in some ways, it's a hot button issue. I think that, you know, as far as that goes, I think that, you know, slavery, it's like basically any cause of the Civil War. I mean, slavery is a big thing about what's going on here. Okay. And one of these days I want to make like a proper video on the causes of the Civil War, and the nuances and all of that kind of stuff. You know, too often the debate seems to be, was it or was it not about slavery? It's like, come on, it's pretty obvious these people are fighting over slavery. But let's not, forget about the different causes here, because I think that some of these nuances that really, like, there were very few people in the country that had a problem in the 1850s. At the time the Civil War broke out, there were very few people in the country that had a problem with slavery existing in Alabama or Florida or Louisiana. That Lincoln's party was Lincoln's Republican Party, their platform was free soil, that they were against the expansion of slavery into the West. So really, as far as that goes, without the expansion into the West, like without the Mexican War, for example, well, there probably wouldn't have been a civil war as we know it today, because, this argument over the Mexican cession and, everything you see from the Compromise of 1850, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, it's like, yes, to a very large extent. Now, I think people take this and they take it to an extreme and they say that, okay, anybody who fought for the Confederate States of America was fighting for slavery. And you see where, these activists spray paint these Confederate memorials and even Confederate graves. And, that's really unfortunate. I mean, my ancestor was a Confederate veteran, my great-great-great-grandfather. And so, the thing is, I think that, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, that, slavery is a pretty big deal, but it's really more the debates over the expansion of slavery and then the whole idea of Southern political power in general. A lot is changing in this time between, 1800 and 1860. I would say that, there's certainly been a lot of changes in technology and all that in the 20th century, but I would say that the nation changed more in this time than not. There's actually one historian, James McPherson, who's actually probably one of the best, definitely one of the best known historians, who wrote that essentially it's like, a lot of times we focus on the South, but essentially the South was really the same South it had been ever since the Revolutionary War. It's just, the North changed quite a bit, in 1820, they had the Missouri Compromise. Slavery wasn't as heated an issue, but slavery became much more of a hot button issue as things went on. All right. So as far as that goes, I mean, that's really, I mean, it's one of those topics. It's, I could go on for that for a long time, but certainly a big deal, no doubt. All right. What about the era of good feelings? All right. What about it, Justin? All right. Era of good feelings, James Monroe. The era of good feelings is this time between the first and the second two-party systems, where remember that after the War of 1812, the War of 1812 killed the Federalist Party because the Hartford Convention, gets together and they put their resolutions up and they're like, we're going to go to Washington, and they imply, they don't state, but they imply that if their resolutions are not considered, they're going to get together in Boston. They're going to do what they have to do. Secession. All right. So really what happens, and then the Battle of New Orleans, like, whoa, America. Yeah. I don't want to yell too loud because people are like on the computer and all that, but America. Yeah. I should do it just one time, like just patriotic fervor, because after the Battle of New Orleans, all of a sudden the war is cool again. All right. And it's cool to be an American and all that. And it's like these Federalists, they're the ones who are, who are all, as far as all that goes, James Monroe. I mean, he gets almost unanimously reelected. There was one rogue elector in 1820 who voted against James Monroe and kept him from being reelected unanimously. Get it? Rogue one rogue elector. Ha ha ha. I'm so funny. All right. I'm such a nerd. Can't wait for Star Wars on Friday. It's so awesome, even though I'm going to have to go see it on Saturday. So as far as that goes, manifest destiny. All right. So as far as this goes, manifest destiny, the idea that the United States obviously has a divine mission to get as big as it can. All right. So that we can expand from sea to shining sea, that God is on our side. God wants America to be as big as it can be. All right. And so as far as that goes, that's really the whole idea behind manifest destiny. All right, let's see. We've got Justin has purchased the Premium Hangout. Nate from Goodyear, Arizona. Thank you so much, Nate, for helping out with the Premium Hangout. And Joshua from Mesa, Arizona. I'm looking forward to seeing you at 8:30. So thank y'all for those of you who are supporting the Premium Hangout. It just helps, it's like I'm having time away from my family as well. It makes it more, I can do more of these when people are supporting the premium services. Also, remember Romulus APUSH review. Going to get to more questions in a second, but Romulus APUSH review. I have an app. It breaks my heart that there are people out there who don't know that I have an app. So if you've got an iPhone, over 800 trivia questions to help you in U.S. history. A lot of people have downloaded. They think it's been great. It's just a very simple app to help you review content. All right, that's it. I've already explained the Treaty of Guadalupe, Hidalgo, Amber, and besides, you are not following me on Twitter. All right, so he said it himself, looking at all. Ha ha, that is so funny. APUSH memes. There we go. All right, so as far as that goes, let's see what we've got here. Now, Murray, the Transcendentalist, Thoreau, Emerson. I tell you what, that stuff there, it just kind of almost makes me yawn. And I don't really touch on it that much, but there is that sort of like whole utopian community thing. The Transcendentalists, like you've got writers, they're individualistic, all that kind of stuff. Brook Farm. It's not something I tend to emphasize very much. Now, one day it's going to be the DBQ, and that's going to come to bite me in the rear. But anyway, all right, Ryan. You're asking about the New England, the Chesapeake, the New England colonies. You must be, it's like directly from that like DBQ topic. But anyway, the Chesapeake colonies, you're talking about Virginia and Maryland, tobacco, agriculture, cash crops, religion's not really a factor. New England, much more to do with religion, much less about agriculture. New England had a short growing season, all of that kind of stuff, rocky soil. All right. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex, for the kind words. Alex, one of my newest followers, and I think one of my most awesome followers here. So, so cool. All right. Can I go over the acts the British placed on America? All right. Ryan Bono's lover from Scottsdale, Arizona. Is that the guy who just bought into the Premium Hangout? Might have to worry about this guy. All right. But anyway, whatever we got here. Now, Ryan, I would say I would direct you to my, I've got some stuff on, I've got a video called Parliament Taxes the Colonies, and I've got another one called The Road to Revolution. In those videos, I pretty much go over the whole shebang. Now, another thing, y'all don't forget about my website, ladies and gentlemen, that I've got an APUSH review page on my website, something specifically for APUSH. So I want to make sure that y'all understand all of the things that that are available to you. So APUS history, go to APUSH review. Now I'm working on special pages for each period. I've got a period 1 page, but on this page, I've got all kinds of stuff here, and I've got it sorted by historical periods. Now it's not just my videos. I've got stuff from Hip Hughes, from Daniel Joe's Productions, Mr. Betts class, and I've got my own stuff as well. So for example, if I go to period 3 review, you're going to see Parliament Taxes the Colonies, The Road to Revolution, all of this kind of stuff. So I've got several things here to help you out on this. So definitely consider going to this site and looking at the resources that are here, because I've got a lot of resources there for you and your friends to get ready for this exam. So please take advantage of those things. All right. So as far as that is concerned, just wanted to make sure that you know about that. So yeah, I would recommend Parliament Taxes the Colonies and The Road to Revolution on those as far as that goes. All right. So then touch on some of the major wars in the Civil War. I'm guessing that Brady means some of the battles. Now, I would say as far as the most important battles of the Civil War, I would say for one, if you wanted to think about the first Battle of Manassas or Bull Run, that's like the first like land battle. And that's where, the Confederates win that battle and basically put the idea to rest. Now, it's not so much the battle as what it symbolizes, because Lincoln, when the Confederates fired on Fort Sumter, Lincoln called for 75,000 troops to enlist for 90 days. So Lincoln really, he gets so much credit. And I think there are a lot of reasons to give Lincoln credit, but a lot of times we tend to gloss over Lincoln's mistakes, that Lincoln obviously, really miscalculated the strength of support that the Confederacy had. And he thought that this was just going to be a walk in the park. And it wasn't. There are stories that people brought like picnic blankets and stuff like that. They're bringing their picnic blankets, and it's like, well, maybe this is going to be a little bit more than that. So it's going to be a long war. And so as far as that is concerned, that's important. Now, Antietam is a very important battle in the sense that Antietam is giving us, essentially, it is the first time, like Robert E. Lee, when he was in Virginia in 1862, 1863, he was winning, 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 winning. Then he went to Maryland because he needed to get his troops out of Virginia because both armies had picked it dry. He needed to go somewhere else where he could, actually, find he could find some, stuff for his men to eat. And so then he engages the North at Antietam. And basically, as far as a tactical battlefield thing, it was a draw. Like, even though McClellan got a hold of Lee's war plans because somebody dropped them, it was a draw that both sides retreated from, both sides basically disengaged. Nobody really retreated. It wasn't a rout, but Lee did go back to Virginia. So the North claimed that as a victory, which, the North didn't really believe that because Lincoln, after the battle, he relieved McClellan of command. So that Lincoln wasn't pleased with what happened. But since Robert E. Lee had basically had a non-victory, Lincoln thought, this would be a decent time to put together the Emancipation Proclamation, basically to release it. And so he used the Battle of Antietam as an occasion to release his preliminary Emancipation Proclamation 100 days before January 1st, 1863, when that would come into effect. And, Lincoln is basically switching gears. Now, he still wants to preserve the Union, but for the first 2 years of the war, Lincoln was focused exclusively on preserving the Union. That basically, if the Civil War had ended in 1861 or 1862, then slavery would have continued, probably not forever, but for a time. That Lincoln wasn't out to get rid of slavery in the South. That was going to kill the economy. And so as far as that is concerned, that's an important thing, because the Emancipation Proclamation is a turning point. That now the Union Army, when it goes into new Confederate territories, it's going to free slaves. And also it opened the door for Black enlistment, which African-American troops ended up making up about 10% of the Union Army. Over 180,000 out of, about 2 million people who enlisted in the Union Army were African Americans. And so Lincoln's able to use this manpower. Now, of course, the turning point of the Civil War militarily, you're talking about, Gettysburg and Vicksburg, which, of course, Gettysburg, Lee goes into Pennsylvania. The Confederates needed to fight a short war because of all of the material advantages that the North had. The North had more people. The North had a lot more manufacturing, and the North had more capital. They had more money. And so Robert E. Lee knew that the South had to end the war. In order for the South to win the war, it was going to have to end in 1863, that the South would have to undermine the North's will to fight. And so the Battle of Gettysburg, Lee was decisively defeated in that battle. Not surrender defeated, but he was defeated, had to retreat with his tail tucked. I mean, it was bad. And so as far as that's concerned, that's a turning point. And then Vicksburg, that the Confederates, Vicksburg was one of the biggest there were only 2 strongholds left on the Mississippi River. The Confederates really only, controlled in mid-1863 a small stretch of the Mississippi River. And when Vicksburg fell, the other Confederate stronghold at Port Hudson fell, and the North then had control of the Mississippi River. You might remember Scott's Anaconda Plan, okay? That the Anaconda is, basically, that you are blockading the ports, you're trying to capture Richmond, and you're dividing the Confederacy at the Mississippi River. So the Anaconda is closing at that time. As far as that goes, Colin, I would say the Kansas-Nebraska Act is one of many things that is, that is happening at that time. Now, let me show you some other videos that I've got. They're not necessarily on my APUSH playlist. They're more kind of a general audience kind of thing. Remember, Romulus APUSH Review is at the App Store. All right. And so there is a video that I've got called it should be called The Road to Civil War. Okay. So The Road to Civil War Let's see what I've got. Okay, there we go. If you scroll down a little bit, you see this. This is a 20-minute lecture basically going through all of the main events leading to the Civil War. Now, this is just for a general audience, not necessarily targeted to APUSH, but it's all the same stuff you're going to get at APUSH. So if you want a primer on that, I'd recommend that you take a look at that. Also, on Romulus, the Civil War and Reconstruction section has like 80 questions. It's the largest section in the whole app. So I'm getting a lot of like Civil War questions. So make sure as far as that goes, to do that. All right, I need to shout out to the trap, it sounds like. All right, so I'm shouting out to the trap, Miss Trap. All right, Jared King. Looks like he started a Twitter just to follow me. That's, I tell you, that's dedication to APUSH right there. All right, the cult of true womanhood. Not sure about that. You know, Colin? Yeah, got it. All right. So, Colin, I just saw that. Susie Yoon, thanks for the follow. Thanks so much for the follow, Susie Yoon. All right, so as far as that is concerned, let's see who we've got. Justin, thanks for the follow. All right, the backcountry rebelliousness. All right, so I've got something on that. Now, one thing, Rita, I would recommend my video on the Whiskey Rebellion. All right, I've recently posted a video on the Whiskey Rebellion, and I go over essentially these different frontier settler rebellions, these disgruntled white rebellions, as I call them sometimes, to differentiate them from slave rebellions. But let me show you a little graphic I've got here, and this is in the video, the YouTube video about the Whiskey Rebellion, which I give a whole lot of context. I even go over some synthesis opportunities. I've really catered that video toward an APUSH audience. Now, as far as this is concerned, let's see what we've got here. All right. Let's see. So, all right. Okay, here we go. I've got a graphic organizer there that appears in that video, and I basically go over what we're looking at here. Oh, oops, I stopped sharing. I pressed the wrong thing. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. All right, so let me go ahead and share that. All right. And let's see. All right, Matthew Yutzi, what's up, man?
Not much, my man. How are you doing?
Oh, doing well. I am actually broadcasting live, Matthew. Would you mind maybe calling back in about 15 minutes, a little bit after 8?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, always a pleasure, my friend.
Always a pleasure.
All right. So what we see here is essentially kind of a common thread that you see that all of these frontier settler rebellions are Western farmers. In the case of Bacon's Rebellion, it's in Virginia in the colonial period. Shays' Rebellion in Massachusetts during the Confederation period, and the Whiskey Rebellion in Pennsylvania when the Constitution was newly adopted. And in each case, these Western farmers had a grievance. And there were various things that happened. The biggest thing here, I would say, is that Shays' Rebellion is the most important here, I think, as far as the result, because this drove a lot of people kind of over the fence as far as calling for a new constitution. So I would definitely recommend that video on Shays' Rebellion, or I mean on the Whiskey Rebellion, which is one of my newer videos. And I actually used kind of more of a slidecast format on that. You can let me know what you think of that. Like I'm really kind of conflicted lately. Should I do like more slidecast so that I can make more videos? Or should I, do the full treatment and the record, like the fancy recording and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm a little bit conflicted about that. If people give me some feedback, I think that's great. All right. So as far as that is concerned, the 13th versus the 15th Amendments, I think, Carson, I have already addressed that. So I'm not going to do that again, but let's see. All right. Focus on for midterm. Madison, go to my website and there's an APUSH review page. Okay. So, oh gosh, that's so funny. APUSH memes, putting the memes out there. Y'all follow APUSH memes. I just retweeted APUSH memes. Now wait, okay. There's a conspiracy here. Colin, my new friend Alex, it looks like. Is that correct? That my new friend Alex? Y'all are asking me the same thing. All right. So Yeah, so I guess y'all know each other. Progression of religion in the government. Whoa, like we got like 3 of them. Okay, Taryn. Wow, this whole thing. All right, I don't. It's kind of that's really a like it's a broad question. I'm not sure what to do with it. I would say that what we're looking at here is, of course, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, which got the church out of the state government. And by the time the Constitution was ratified, all state governments, I think, except for Massachusetts and Connecticut, disestablished their churches. Those states actually had state churches like well into the 19th century until like the 1830s, 1840s. The House of Burgesses. All right, Sean, the House of Burgesses was in Virginia during the colonial period. All right, Virginia during the colonial period, and basically a more aristocratic body. Now I've got some stuff on colonial America. You might want to look at that, and I go into the House of Burgesses and all of that kind of stuff. All right, so as far as that goes, Mr. Lagerway, I'm so glad Mr. Lagerway students are listening. I tell you what, that guy knows how to make APUSH great again. I'll tell you what. All right, and Shavam with that follow. Can I go over the Free Soil Party? Matt, Abby, that is one of my favorite videos. If you'll just type in Free Soil or Free Soil Party, you'll be able to see a video that I made before I still had my iPhone 4S, and it was just a little live video. I was outside taking my dog out to do her business, and I decided to make a video about free soil. And I think that would be very important for you to watch that. Now, remember, abolitionists want to get rid of slavery now. They want to do it everywhere. They want to do it for moral reasons. The free soilers, they want to keep slavery from spreading west. And really, a lot of this is not really about like morality. Like the free soilers, in a lot of cases, I mean, you got to remember, I mean, everybody was racist back then, pretty much. And a lot of these, these farmers that were moving west, they didn't want to be around black people. They didn't want to compete with slave labor. I mean, that's really what it came down to. And so Lincoln's constituents, really weren't so much abolitionists as people who did not want slavery to spread west, because they wanted a white west. They wanted white farmers to go in there and settle on homesteads, was what they wanted. What New World explorers should we know about? Shavam, as far as that goes, I would say Cortez would probably be useful. It would really be most important that you just know who the conquistadors are, all of that kind of stuff. Bartolome de las Casas was an explorer, but he could come up in the case of like colonial Spain or something like that. All right. Any tips on preparing for stimulus-based tests? Okay, Brady, before the AP exam, I will do a, I will do, I tell you what, I like this Shavam guy. All right. So as far as that goes, I would say here that I will do a thing on the stimulus-based questions like the week of the exam. It'll be premium because it's one of those things like it's going to blow you away. It's one of the things I can't give away. Now, there is something called the Richey Doctrine. If you go to my website and go to the APUSH review page that I showed y'all, the Richey Doctrine. And this is my guide to AP multiple choice questions. Romulus APUSH review is at the App Store, ladies and gentlemen. And so on the APUSH review page, there's Romulus again. Y'all check that out. And if you do buy the app and you like it, remember to review it, please, because every once in a while somebody leaves an unflattering review and it's not very nice. Let's make sure that we put the haters in their place and make good reviews. All right. So as far as this stuff, this links to my document, the Richey Doctrine, APUSH multiple choice. And I've got some tips here. So while I'm going to do a live session the week before the exam, that's going to be premium. This is free. All right. This is free. So make sure that y'all check that out. Also, my friends at Albert.io have a great product. Okay. My friends at Albert.io have a great product to offer. So make sure to check that out because lots of good stuff there. All right. And so as far as that, Murray, thank you. Thank you for just being so awesome. All right. Thank you, Claire _169, and Sean. All right. Thanks very much for the follows. All right. Looking forward to keeping up with y'all. The Navigation Acts and the Intolerable Acts affect America. All right. Now, the Intolerable Acts, of course, this is what's going to lead to the as far as the First Continental Congress, this is going to lead the colonies to really start cooperating with each other. on this resistance. And I would say the intolerable acts are probably, really when the American Revolution is becoming inevitable, because, although the Boston Tea Party was a crime and all of that kind of stuff, Britain really, really cracked down. More information there, the video, The Road to Revolution. Now, the Navigation Acts, my friend Hip Hughes has a great video on the triangular trade, okay, which I think is great. Now let's see. Yes. Yeah. My friend Shabam is a meme. That is correct. That is correct. All right. So as far, don't take the test, Ryan says. All right. So Alex, pre-colonial times, please. Now, Alex, what I love about your request, whatever he's saying there. All right, Alex, what I love about your request is I have already done that. Okay, that all you have to do now. The other thing is there are some things on my website that I've got for you that I've actually started kind of getting into making like lecture notes and putting those up, because I see a lot of people search for like APUSH notes. And so if you go to my main APUS history page here, I've got some notes on a few select topics. Now, sign up for my email list. If you want to be kept in the loop, sign up for my email list. Email address, first name, last name, you're in. All right. So make sure to sign up for that. Now, I've started making notes here. And so what I've got here is I've got notes on Native American cultures. If you put in Google, I think Native American cultures, APUSH, you will get my video and my notes. Okay, so if you put in Native American cultures, APUSH, my videos and my notes. Okay, so these notes here, I'm going basically over what you need to know for the exam. Okay, so you want to make sure to take a look at all that and see what's going on there. Watch the video, buy my app, go to my website, do all of that stuff. Why? Because it will help you. POV, me. But of course, I'm an AP teacher. And so, you've benefited from my stuff in the past, or you wouldn't be here. What were the conflicts in pre-colonial times? I'd take a look at that pre-colonial stuff. Yeah. So take a look at that video that I just recommended. All right. So thank you, Alex. Can I please explain the Jim Crow laws? Alex, Jim Crow has to do with basically segregation. And this is, yeah, if that's not goals, I don't know what is, Alex. Exactly. All right. So as far as this goes, Jim Crow laws, this is after Reconstruction, when you have the Compromise of 1877, where the troops are pulled out of the remaining states. Reconstruction is over. And so Jim Crow, you see this system of racial segregation that develops, which is largely what you're talking about there, but also the system of the disenfranchisement of African Americans with the grandfather clause, the literacy test, basically ways to stop Black Americans from voting. And so that's Jim Crow. Basically, you're getting into segregation. The Lecompton Constitution, okay? As far as that goes, Manuel, if Miss Owens can give Manuel some extra credit, that would be so awesome. Oh, he likes Star Wars. Look at that. That's pretty cool. All right, so the Lecompton Constitution. Kansas was trying to get in. Oh, Manuel just followed, asked for extra credit, and asked a question. I guess better that than nothing, right? And so as far as that goes, the Lecompton Constitution, Kansas was trying to get in the Union immediately before the Civil War. And there were basically two constitutions. Now, Topeka is the present-day capital of Kansas, so you know which one ended up being ratified. But there was the Topeka Constitution, which was an anti-slavery constitution, and the Lecompton Constitution, which was a pro-slavery constitution. And the Senate ratified the Lecompton Constitution, and President James Buchanan urged the ratification of the Lecompton Constitution. Once again, as we were talking about before, not so much slavery in the abstract, but the spread of slavery is what's happening there. All right, so as far as, can I explain the difference between the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments? Let me check on that. All right, so as far as that goes, let's see. Let me see what I've put up and what I haven't on that EOC series. Okay, I've only put up Reconstruction Part 1. Okay, so I need to get to Reconstruction Part 2. But the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, remember the 13th Amendment, presidential Reconstruction, and, that's Lincoln. Get rid of slavery, nothing else. Just get rid of slavery, that's it. 14th and 15th, radical Reconstruction, basically focused on maintaining the rights of Black Americans in the South and recognizing them as citizens. James Fenimore Cooper was an author of some sort. I don't think I've ever seen him on the exam. Didn't he write Last of the Mohicans or something like that? Let's see. Teacher didn't focus on it. Yeah, I know some of those things, Murray, it's like none of us want to focus on. They might be on there and, there. As far as that goes, Manifest Destiny, I think I already mentioned something. Okay. Hi, Abby. I tell you what, you're on fire tonight. You're on fire tonight. All right. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks, Josh, for the follow. All right. Oh, gosh, that's pretty funny there. It's pretty funny, APUSH memes. Some of y'all are following APUSH memes. Some good study habits. Actually do your readings, Alex, and all of that kind of stuff. All right. So, yeah, ways to remember names, dates. It's like, actually read. Now, one thing, buy my app. The Romulus app is something that I think that's really going to drill a lot of that key content so that you can spend other time thinking about how to apply that content. Romulus, I'm not shy about it. It's just very much a trivia app. Okay. It's a trivia app, and it builds a foundation that you can use to do that other stuff later. Now, timelining is a good thing, all that kind of stuff. Studying for the midterm, watch my videos, and watch other people's videos. That APUSH page, and I'm about to head out. And remember, I'm going to be doing a 90-minute session for a small group of people. The premium session, we're finishing up the Jefferson section. We're going to go to the Hamilton section at 8:30, and that is for people who have bought in, and it's going to be a much smaller group. I'm going to be able to get to everybody's questions as they come up and that sort of thing, and I think that it's going to be a lot of fun for those that are there. Just $10 to buy into that. 90 minutes. That is much cheaper than my tutoring rates. All right. So as far as that goes, let's see. So when you go to my my study page, APUSH review, there are all kinds of videos and other resources. You can subscribe to the email list so that you can keep kept in touch when I do stuff. Now, as far as that goes, I mean, I've got a handout here. There are some videos that'll show up. It's kind of a big page, so it takes a little while. All right. So as far as that goes, all kinds of stuff on this page to help you study. All right. That is the objective of this page, is to help you study. So let's make sure you do that. Buy the Romulus APUSH review app from the App Store. You will not regret it, ladies and gentlemen. So as far as that goes, I'm going to go ahead and cut this session short, and well, not short because I've actually gone 3 minutes over. So please consider buying into the premium session, and I will be around doing some broadcasts during the spring, combination of public and premium sessions. So I'm a man of the people, but I've also got to make sure I'm not just like always giving everything away and making my voice go away and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of tough. It's a tough life broadcasting all the time, isn't it? And scrolling through all of these tweets. Thanks for the follow, Trisket Biscuit, and all of that kind of stuff. And so as far as all of that, I think I might hit Periscope in a little bit. Make sure you follow me on Periscope at Tom Richey, just like Twitter. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Shout out to Mr. Johnson. And all right, Colin and Alex are more or less an item. All right, there we go. More or less. All right, people tell me that now and then, Kevin. All right, we'll get to the Republican Party, all that, and the Premium Hangout, Encomienda, all of that kind of stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, all right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Happy Britmas. And that's got that APUSH final tomorrow. Okay, so again, shouts out, yes, very good. All right, Miss Rodriguez. All right, excellent. Okay, thank y'all so much. Y'all do great stuff. Another shout out to the trap. All right, Jacksonian Democracy, Alex, go to the very beginning of the Hangout. I pretty much start off with that. All right, Murray. Murray, you know how to, how to get to me there. All right, and yeah, I hear that. I hear that one too, Kevin. All right. Wow. Thanks, Matt. Wow, that's something. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Is Maddie still here? Hey, Maddie, give Maddie a little shout out. You know, that's, oh gosh, shabam. All right, so there we go. So anyway, on that note, we'll go ahead. Yeah, there we go. Oh, wow. AP Euro memes. Yes, definitely. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, we're kind of losing people because I'm pretty much done. And so we'll go ahead and cut this short, and I will see people at 8:30. All right. Have a good one. Always a pleasure.